I guess I'll start first. Again, it was the Flossie Johnson had the inspiration of starting an interest group of the Links Incorporated. And Flossie was only allowing her friends at the particular time to come and have a conversation. And I think at that particular time, Marlene, I don't think was at that particular one. I think it was maybe about 10 of us, Lois, and just talking in general. But I used to talk to Flossie on the phone late at night, and she knew that she could call me late at night. And not to mention a couple names of other organizations, she kind of threw a couple of them out and said, "What are your thoughts?" And I said, "Well, I'm not sure, Flossie." I said, uh, that's a tough group to try to put together the links. Oh no, we're going to be able to do it. And Flossie started naming people, and I might have named one. No, we're not calling her up. I said, okay. I said, why don't you just make the list? All right, I'll make the list. And then she made the list.
Yes.
And I think we came together first at her house.
Yes.
And it was supposed to be very private. Could not talk about it, not under any circumstances. But as I've mentioned in the past, Flossie knew some of the right folks on the national and area level. And Flossie had a thing about her that she gonna pester you and make sure it's gonna happen.
Ooh, Lordy.
And I know her friends on the area level knew they had to move because Flossie was just ready for this to happen. So she would mention names to me, and I would say, "You called him up, Flossie?" "Yeah, I called him up. We talked late at night." So she had the whole notion, the vision, and she knew the right ladies to have a conversation with. And then I would say she made the best decision of the ladies that she made a selection in Baltimore County to come together.
I met Flossie when I was pregnant. I had just become the first Black president of a Maryland state business group. And she was there in the audience. And when I finished speaking and it was over, she came up to me and she said, "Oh my goodness gracious, that was so great, Lois." And I mean, Miss Laine, she called me. And I really, really would like to know more about you. That did it for me.
No more.
Oh gosh, I was invited to her house. I did her commentated her fashion show for her family reunion. I was at her house. She even had us over for dinner on a Sunday just so I could be involved with her family. And I noticed that closeness that was going on there. And I said to Flossie, I said, "You're just like a sister to me, aren't you?" She said, "Yes, Lois, I really, really, really want you to be a part." So she put me in Jack and Jill. She did all of them, okay, to make sure I wouldn't leave. And as a result of that, she called me one day and she said, "Lois, we're starting a group." And then when she said that, I told her, I said, "I can't be in the group." I did. I said, "I can't be in the group. And let me tell you why." I said, I'm at Virginia Tech. I'm working on my doctorate, and there's no way that I can go back and do back and forth driving and work with you. And she said, and as like Carolyn just finished saying, she is what? Persistent. And she just kept calling and says, "Lord, here's what we're going to do. We're going to make it easy for you to," and next thing you know, I'm in. I'll just tell you, I'm in. She was the inspiration for me being and becoming a link and staying with a link because I still hadn't gotten the doctorate and I was still trying to get the doctorate, but it didn't work out too well. So after being involved so long, and I became head of a department at the community college, and she began working for me. She did a part-time job for me. And that helped a lot. And next thing you know, here comes Flossie saying, "Lois, what I want you to do is, I want you to, can you write a letter?" And this was the letter that was going to national for us. She said, because you're a business, you can proofread, you can do all of those good things. And every letter that was written, that was sent in, I did it with Flossie's guidance. And we were sure to become links as a result of Flossie, as knowing everybody. She did. Flossie was in 4 or 5 groups herself. So she had that connection already that made it easier for us to catch on to what she was doing. And they were kind. Salonia Walton was one of the ones from Columbia that guided Flossie through a lot of what was going on. And I'll never forget that period of time in which we were involved with her, because she did a lot. She did a lot to keep us.
You're
intact.
absolutely right. I had to jump in when you said Salonia Walden, because I can remember Salonia Walden was known for starting many organizations in Columbia.
Yeah.
And when she visited us, at that particular time, may have only been 10, she spoke to us at Flossie's home, and she gave us suggestions of things to do and said, you follow this and you will become links. And I think she had a lot to do with it.
Yeah.
She was a well-respected lady, and she has started almost 5 different groups in Columbia. And so Flossie was right there with her every second, and Salonia Walden liked Flossie a lot.
And I like to jump in from Salonia Walden to say that how I found out about what was going on is Jean Cooper was a Columbia link. She belonged to the Columbia chapter. And she came to me and said, they're forming a group under Flossie Johnson. And I think that you should go, and they're going to be meeting at the Candlelight Inn.
Yeah.
And Marlene, you need to go. And I was hesitant. I said, well, interest group, what? What's going on? And so I decided to go. And that's when I said that I think I only knew 3 people. Carolyn Cole, I saw Carolyn Cole, I saw Jackie Chambers, and I think Ruth Hunt. And I saw 44, and I looked at all the women, and I said, I don't know these women. But I sat there, I listened. Flossie was in control. And I looked around and I said, I started getting excited. And that was the beginning of where I rode to Suburban SWA.
Yeah.
So Suburban Women's Club. Yeah. Wonderful.
What were some of your, I guess, most memorable early memories in getting the chapter started?
I think mine was that we enjoyed first the food at the Candlelight Inn. And if you were going to the Candlelight Inn, you're going to have a good time. You're going to have the wonderful fellowship among wonderful ladies. And in my opinion, it was a great restaurant with great food. And the owners of the Candlelight Inn, they loved Flossie, because Flossie was bringing a lot of business there to the Candlelight Inn. So that's one enjoyment. And my second was our many meetings that we had at the home of Jenny Patterson, whose connecting link enjoyed preparing dinner for us, serving us, cleaning it up. But if you were late, you didn't get that dinner, because Donald was a stickler about time. So that was enjoyable, of the times that we met at Jenny Patterson's house when we were all working.
I think the enjoyable part also was, we met many, many times at the Catonsville Library. And I don't know, the fellowship, getting to know everyone, especially with me only knowing 3 people at the beginning, just the camaraderie. I mean, everybody was so loving and caring, and we were so excited about going on this journey. So I think that That's the most important part for me.
You sort of answered the next question that I was going to ask, which is what made you ultimately decide that you wanted to be a member of the club?
Well, I guess my decision is that I had attended many events from other link chapters. I had a very close friend, and her husband was good friends with my connecting link, and she was in the links in Washington, D.C. And they had so many events happening. And just to shorten the story, it's a true story. And she said, I'd like to bring you into this organization. And I went, oh, no, I can't come over to Washington, D.C. So that's how that kind of happened. And then all of a sudden, when we got in conversation with Flossie, so I was very impressed with the organization in Washington, the sister links there, who are now sister links. And I just felt as though the ladies had so much in common of sisterhood.
I think for me, I was very impressed from the very beginning when I noticed that when they started the group, Suburban Women's Association, the interest group, I couldn't believe how they had put that group together. I mean, they started immediately with the officers, and they started with the bylaws and constitutions and all of the things that they did in the links. You know, they even started with the facets. I mean, everything was laid out and controlled. And I said, oh, these women are together. And I said, yeah, I want to be in this group. Uh-huh.
I think what impressed me most was the fact that I did my research, I did my reading about our founders. And one of the things, as I said earlier, they talked about friendship, but they also talked about everything is dealing with service, bonding as friends, and then all of it is under the guidance of our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ. Everything is based on God's principles. And I said, that makes it for me. Because being a lay speaker in the church, I wanted that kind of activity so I could bond even more so with folks, because we do know it takes a lot to become a true friend. It takes a lot to be able to understand each other, even when things are difficult in the meeting sometimes, and you agree and you do not agree, but you still, at the end of it, you're still my friend. We're still friends. And that was what it was for me.
What were some of the challenges that you all faced in organizing the chapter? What were your biggest hurdles?
Ooh, biggest hurdle.
I'm not sure if we really had hurdles. I think probably to make sure the surrounding chapters were going to embrace us. And so I wouldn't call that a challenge, but I think it was really important that many of them knew many of us, and what our personalities were like, what our education background, and what we could bring to the Links Incorporated. So that might have been somewhat a little challenge because there were two chapters in the area with us.
I found that the challenge was when we got a notice that another part of Baltimore County was trying to become an interest group. And that's where we had to really do our homework, because in the beginning we were only doing maybe a good part of the western part of the county, eastern part of the county, but we didn't go all the way to the south. And when we had our, what was that? Our Carolyn was in charge. I think you were in charge. We had our activity lunch, our luncheon. That's what it was. We honored someone from the minister was from a church way out in what was that area of South Baltimore County?
Not Dunbar.
Turner Station, that's what it was. So we went that far to make sure we were
Oh,
covering
you're right. I forgot about
all of the area,
Mhm.
to make sure that we explain this to our national, that we are covering every part. And I'm happy to say today that we have gone now to the eastern area where our departed sister Ruth
Mhm.
passed away. And so now we're covering all of them, and they were denied. And that was good for us because Flossie was really working hard to make sure that that wouldn't happen. Yeah.
What were some of the early service projects?
Everybody.
We had one at um, the hospital, Provident Hospital, one of the oldest black hospitals in Baltimore City. And at that particular time, we did more with the pediatric um, ward and constantly just really basically bringing in toys, things that the hospital would approve of, different books and things of this nature. So I know that was one thing that stood out as far as what we were doing, our volunteer services at the hospital. And the other project I would say is that once we became a chapter, we moved into a tutorial, I would say, and preparing students for the SAT program.
Right.
So, I mean, it was really top notch where students were a part of this, where people are paying $20 and $30 an hour. And this was a free program that we went into Merville High School. I mean, not Merville, Milford Mill and Woodlawn High School. So those projects went on for about 5 or 6 years, the tutorial project for SAT. And I think they were really outstanding.
And included in the tutorial was our connecting link, who was
Right.
able to help
Yeah.
us a
Yes.
lot. Yeah.
He was a math instructor.
That's right.
And we also had a partnership with Woodmore Elementary School, where we did reading. We came into the classrooms and we did reading. We ended up doing the Thanksgiving holiday, where we did for a number of years. We would probably still do it now, where we gave out Thanksgiving baskets. We did, fortunately, we did do at Woodlawn High School. We did finally do an umbrella program there, which we had the 100 roll women that all 5 facets participated in that. We've done quite a few. Oh, we also had over at Epworth United Methodist.
Yes.
We had what we called, I want to say a health fair, but it may have been an expo,
It was.
where we had various companies coming in separate rooms.
And connecting links as well.
Yeah, and
Jackie
connecting
Chambers'
links.
husband said some
It was very successful.
Yeah.
And we even had a health fair at Woodmore Elementary School, where we had people of health coming into the gymnasium. We've done quite a few things.
Very active.
Quite a few.
What do you think the Patapsco River chapter is best known for?
Oh, dear God.
I think we are known for our close sisterhood, our organization of our fundraisers, the attendance for these events, and how we work together as a committee. And I would also say that we're always very transparent. You're not trying to figure out what we're going to do at this event. We kind of know everything in advance. We know the expectations. You can join the committee if you want. It's just not a committee that the president puts together. The president may put the chair together, and then from there on, people can join any of the committees that they choose to.
How do you think the chapter has evolved from your time as SWAT to now?
While you all are thinking, I'll just jump in and say,
Well,
I just think with a number of professions that our Link sisters have in this chapter, it brings a wealth of knowledge. We know 40 years ago, mostly Links were educators. And in the beginning, our chapter had a large number of educators. And you know that you have to reach other areas of expertise to have your chapter grow. And I feel that's one of the things this chapter has really done an excellent job involving many different forms of professions in this organization and the wealth of knowledge the members bring to the chapter.
I think that's something we targeted
yes.
to make
we did.
sure that we did not have all educators. We did have one medical doctor when we started, and anything else I think of. Most of them were all educators, and now we have folks. I don't even know what they do. They tell me about some of the things they're doing, but we're very, very pleased that we have an array of expertise in different areas that have really astonished me with some of the things that they actually are able to do for us. Technology has changed a lot since 1990. And I thought I was the one that knew all about technology, and that was information processing, data entry, and maybe word processing. But none of those things now are even thought about. And you really think about it now, we have progressed to the point that even the older ones like us are somewhat comfortable with this new technology that these younger ones have brought into our lives. And I'm very pleased and happy for that. Very pleased and happy for that. They've done a lot to bring us up to the 21st century. They were able to bring us up quite a bit to that. Yes.
And I'd like to add that we've been very fortunate to have more AeroLinks come in also.
Okay. Yeah.
How do you think the leadership has evolved over time?
What is it?
How do you think leadership has evolved over time? Has it?
Well,
Each leader has their own style of leader as a leader. And I think mainly the leaders that we've have also been able to engage others to become leaders in in our chapter, whether they are going to chair one of the activities or one of the facets or whatever it might be, the fundraising facets. And I think that's one of the things that has taken place, that our leaders have been able to reach out to many in the organization.
I think each president has worked closely with the national and the Eastern, and there are all kinds of acknowledgments and workshops that the younger ones have been able to attend, like leadership webinars and things of that nature. They encourage that. And I do believe we have maybe 3 or 4 persons, links in our chapter that have attended that and have graduated from that.
Scott Hawkins.
Yeah, the Scott Hawkins. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And then they have another one, I think over 40, got another one too going on. That we have had person that. So that's where the leadership has been encouraged quite a bit.
Do you think that the Patapsco River chapter has made its mark nationally? And if you do, in what way?
Nationally.
Nationally.
Well, I believe that we have made our mark nationally in that we are doing our service, and we're enhancing our friendship, which is the 2 top areas that the national is looking for. And I think that we're doing a really good job with that. In the special, especially our umbrella program that we're doing now, and some of the activities that we're participating in. So I think we're making the mark of the national. Mhm.
If you had one piece of advice for an incoming Laine, what would it be? One piece of advice.
For what?
For
a new
incoming,
member.
For new member.
incoming link, knowing the meaning of friendship, service, and
And to
knowing
be-
the how to be a leader. But I would say service and friendship would be number one.
Being committed
And I agree.
to
Friend,
service.
friendship
Mhm.
and service.
Uh-huh.
Yes, definitely.
When you say being committed, expound on that. What do you mean by that?
I mean that once they come into the links, know that this is part of what the league stand for, that we're going to be doing service in the community, and our biggest thing is enhancing friendship. So they need to be committed to all of that.
Any final thoughts? Anything you'd like to add for posterity?
This chapter will continue to embrace new members, old members, and continue to be, I'm going to say, the pillar of our area.
I'm hoping that as we progress, that going back to what you indicated about the national being recognized, I think we could improve upon some of the things that we do because they are great. Our activities and programs are great, but somehow or another we need to push it to the point that the national recognizes us in what we do. And we seem to have not gotten there yet. Because as I said, I've attended most of the Eastern conferences in the national, and I'm waiting for anything in the Maryland area, and I hear Harbor City, I hear Columbia, but I don't hear Patapsco River, and that bothers me because we do a lot. I mean, we can't acknowledge the fact that we don't do a lot, and we do things that are things that are needed for the community. But somehow or another, we've got to work on that part. If I were to put in my two cents worth, that's what needs to be done.
And I say, as we move forward, let us embrace our members, our alumni, and keep enhancing our friendship.
Thank you, ladies.
Thank
That was
you.
marvelous.
Thank you.
Thank you.